My girlfriend accused me of cheating. I didn't, and she doesn't believe me. I don't even know where to begin. 30M and she's 32F. I've known this woman for 6 years. We've been friends the whole time, both dated other people during that time and only recently started dating back in June. The chemistry between us though was pretty much instant. We both acknowledged that we've had crushes on each other from day one. We spend so much time together and all of it is wonderful, mostly just going out to eat or cooking together or simply hanging out talking and watching movies or doing stuff around her house. Over the summer we spent a bunch of time kayaking. A couple of times her son even came with us. Those are some of my favorite memories to date. Obviously things aren't perfect like with any relationship. We both have previous traumas, issues that we've dealt with and addressed with each other. None of that really matters though, because when we're together we're both just happy. All of my free time when I'm not at work is either spent with her or spent thinking about her. We have this like deep spiritual connection that's really hard to explain. I'm absolutely madly in love with this woman and I want to marry her. I want to spend the rest of my life with her and her son, and I would be willing to do anything to make that happen. I want to make her part of my family, build a life and grow old together. So fast forward to 2 days ago. I came over to her house after I got off work to hang out. We hung out, talked, ate this delicious zucchini bread that she'd made, watched a movie, and eventually went to bed. Just like any other normal day. The next morning she got up and went to work, and I went back to sleep since I didn't have to work for several more hours. Cut to 2 hours later, she's home again and woke me up saying we need to have a serious conversation. I got up, met her downstairs in the living room, and then she accused me of cheating on her. She said she found another woman's underwear mixed in with her laundry this morning, and a headband in her couch. I'm so taken aback by this and in such shock. Obviously I need everything, but she didn't believe me or want to hear any of it. I have never cheated on anyone. I had never seen these articles of clothing before in my life. She claims they aren't hers and hasn't seen them before either. And now she somehow thinks that I had time with another woman in her house, while she was at work and her son was home. None of this makes any ducking sense to me. I'm trying to understand what happened, why this is all happening. She said she doesn't believe me and can't trust me, and this is all just ducking horrible. It's all too much. I don't know what to do. She brought over the few things that I had left at her place and left them on my porch. She says it's over between us and there doesn't seem to be anything I can do to change that. I'm extremely depressed. Like, why the duck is this happening? I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. It feels like I don't have a future. I'm generally pretty good at solving problems, but I don't think this one has any good solution. Story 2, could use some advice on how to maintain a relationship with STBXW. A very long story short, my STBXW and I haven't gotten along. No domestic violence or anything, just not a lot of affection, appreciation shown towards one another, and not much time for the last 5 years or so. We have children together, the oldest being 11. She had been contemplating divorce without telling me, understandably, for years, and one day told me she didn't want to be with me anymore and told me to start dating other people, and that she liked a guy friend she had been hanging out with for months. A weekish later, she had time with him, and didn't tell me until I found out. I thought the guy was taking advantage of her vulnerable situation, but she confessed to me she was the one who initiated the time. She was my best friend, but now to me she's just the mother of my kids. I want to do right by the little ones, but I have a hard time being around her without getting upset. Has this happened to anyone, and can anyone give advice on how I can maintain a relationship with her? Am I in the wrong for feeling angry towards her? It's technically not cheating, but I feel so betrayed. Update: remaining friends during post-divorce. Just wondering how common healthy this is. We have kids all elementary school age. She wanted the divorce, currently still just separated, but paperwork is being filed. Immediately after saying she wanted to separate, she started dating someone and is sleeping with him. I started sleeping at my friend's at night after I found out she hid it, but she still wants me to hug her and hang out with her at the house else, even though she's 99% committed to divorce. I know she has to be in my life for a long time because of our kids, so for everyone's sake, especially the kids, it's a good idea that we remain friendly, but I'm wondering how many people made this work, or if it's even healthy to so do, where you could look at the person who walked away from the relationship in a manner that warrants this kind of affection, or whatever you want to call it. Update: a dose of karma for the STBXW. In the beginning of the year, STBXW says she wants a divorce. A week later, has time with her friend she met a year ago. Later discovered she had an emotional affair with him. I never liked him because he had a criminal record BC of time act he tried to engage in, but my ex didn't care because he sweet-talked her into why it was okay to do what he did. Well, she had a breakdown and tried calling me, and I didn't answer. I later found out through her sister that my STBXW went through her AP's phone and found out he was cheating on her with multiple girls. It's not that I'm reveling in her sadness and feelings of betrayal, but NGL, I'm glad she knows what it feels like. Oh, and suddenly she's being super friendly to me equals don't worry, I've learned how to respect myself and so much more while being alone. Redditors' reactions, Story 3 after. Redditor 1, it never ceases to amaze me how someone will cheat, then be utterly shocked and saddened when their AP cheats on them. Oh well. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I'm just glad you're not tempted to be Plan B. Redditor follow-up, it's because they're so special. Rules don't apply to them. It's complicated. It's different. They deserve this one thing just for themselves. They would never normally do this, it's just so romantic and sexy and it just overcame them. I could go on, but I won't. It's how they think. Redditor 2, can't lie, I always get a good laugh when I read post about a cheater getting their karma. Redditor 3, that is great to hear. My ex is married to her AP for 4 years now. I hope one day to hear of it falling apart. Stay strong and rub her nose in it. Redditor follow-up, my ex also married her AP. It's taken almost 12 years, but it is imploding quite spectacularly. I feel nothing for her, so it's, person shrugging, just feel bad because they messed my daughter up bad. Story 3, success story, but images still hard to deal with. We had been together 5 years. She started struggling with life after about 4 years. She got depressed and confused and finally decided to take off for a while to be alone. A few weeks passed and she came back. She said she wanted to move out and move on. I said okay, whatever you want to do. After the mutual decision, we were like wild animals for weeks. She still moved out though, and we were very good about handling everything. Then we mutually decided to get back together. At that point she told me she slept with someone when she had taken off before she had moved out. She said she needed it to help move on, and had already moved on mentally from our relationship. She admits that it was careless and the biggest mistake she's ever made. It was uneventful and not pleasurable or meaningful in any way. We are madly in love and have been back together for 2 very happy years, but every single time we fool around, the images of this one barely countable event play in my head. I don't know where my ego comes into play or what it is. We weren't married and she's been with other men before. So why can't I get rid of these awful images and enjoy our intimate times together? THX. Redditor's reactions, story 4 after. Redditor 1, because she was having an emotional affair before she broke it off with you and tried it with the new guy, and because the safety net failed, she is back to you. Her backup plan. Redditor follow-up, this 100%. And one time. That's funny. People still believe the one-time line. Redditor 2, so you really never reconciled or got therapy or did anything else. She just love-bombed you and you're buying it because you're the safe choice. Be smarter than this. Madly in love and making a rational decision that will affect the rest of your life are 2 entirely separate entities. Make sure you're thinking with your brains and not your heart. Op answer, lots of therapy for both of us. Lots of communication, lots of talks, crying, discussing. We have gotten stronger and stronger. Redditor 3, here's my take. You're struggling with cognitive dissonance. You really want to believe her story, because you want to see your relationship with her in a positive, romantic, safe way. However, deep down, you know that's not what happened. It's the whole head versus heart thing. You know her story makes no sense. You know your relationship history makes no sense. You know you don't mean to her what you want to mean to her. But you keep putting one foot in front of the other here, hoping it will suddenly make sense. You need to embrace reality, man. You got dumped because she wanted to sow her wild oats. So she did. And I seriously doubt it was one time with one guy, and I seriously doubt it was unpleasurable. She hooked up with at least one guy at least one time and she had fun with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the grass didn't look so greener, so she took you back. You, Mr. Safe Guy. You give her things the hookups didn't, I suspect. Like stability. Love. That stuff. But if I were you, I'd be wondering when she'll feel the need to go scratch that itch for whatever she's looking for out there that isn't you. I mean, she sure moved on quick, and you didn't. So embrace that reality, and then make some decisions about it. Redditor follow-up, this is the truth right here. This guy knows what he is talking about. Until you accept reality and the cold hard truth, you won't recover. Redditor 4, op. It's definitely the classic case of trickle truth, my friend. Many battle-hardened warriors here can affirm to that. Right now the fog is so thick you can't actually see what she is. Redditor follow-up, if you read his replies, you can literally feel his anxiousness and desperation for us to believe what she told him, because he chooses to bury his head in the sand and pretend all is well in LA land. He is drowning in denialism, and it's sad. Story 4, how do I cope after my spouse's 6-month EA? My 40 meters spouse 42F have been together for 18 years and have 3 young boys. My spouse has recently come out in the last year as demisexual, which has had no major impact in of itself and wasn't a huge shock at the time. Relationships have seasons and our physically intimate parts have had a mild hibernation, but in the last 3 weeks the amount of intimacy had taken a huge jump up. Last week I had found her on Snapchat talking to a guy she had previously hired for some freelance work. I was never really a fan of him, as he was usually fairly terse with me in any conversation we'd had. She initially brushed it off as they started talking on Snap in the last couple of days, was previously on Twitter because he's going through his own separation, and doesn't want things to get back to his spouse. I pressed for how long they've been actually talking and she admitted 6 months, which when the last time she mentioned him she said he was a pain to get a hold of and wasn't going to deal with him anymore. So I asked what they were talking about, as we would normally share everything with each other about our day-to-day and what's going on with our friends, and she got incredibly defensive and would outright refuse to talk about anything they had shared. I said how that made me feel uncomfortable and made this a trust issue for me. We'd been together for close to 20 years and she'd never held anything back from me before, whether it was about herself or others. So this seemed really out of character. But I left it at that at the time. We had multiple conversations in the following days and it had come out that he had been flirting with her, but she hadn't reciprocated but had continued talking to him, because he needed support, and he was supporting her as he has mild Asperger's and she may have something related to that. She presented this as revealing a big secret about herself, though we had previously discussed this and I was supportive of her talking to a professional, and wanted to be there with her on that journey. I asked if there was a Twitter discussion to show this, to just clear the air and make it clear that this was a platonic friendship. She had deleted the conversations because they had moved to Snap. I mentioned how you can still pull deleted data from Twitter and she refused to do that as she didn't want to be judged on everything she had said, but she also won't say whether there are things she revealed that we need to discuss as a couple. Eventually we have a middle of the night conversation about our feelings and it felt like it finally hit home and she realized the effect of what it was doing to me and the optics of how it looked. She had deleted Snap and messaged the guy that they can't message anymore. He responded in kind and said that he'll take a step back. She had shown me those 2 messages. She had then agreed to start talking to her therapist again and we booked the soonest appointment with a couples counselor for the middle of next month. Some things have already gotten better in the last week. She talked with her therapist once already and they discussed things that need to be looked into and things she needs to work on. We've been very close with each other, talking, sharing, random acts of semi-PDA, and physical acts of intimacy. Other areas not so much. She still talks around what it was. She doesn't like calling it an affair, but when broached directly about the nature of it she responds with "I understand and technically I guess it is." She's closed me out of her social media. We used to share passwords for practicality's sake and she had gone and changed all of hers. She still won't share what they discussed on Snap and Twitter, just that they've stopped talking, and she hides her phone and or conversations when I enter a room. I manage our cell phone accounts and I know there were more messages sent and received as part of that final conversation than what she had shown me. I also did some snooping and found that he had only liked her tweets where she had posted pictures of herself, nothing scandalous. I don't know where I sit. We've got 2 weeks till our couples session where we can discuss these things with a professional, and though she is actively engaging with me as a partner, I don't know how to feel about it. Whether she's making an effort to patch things or just placating me so that she isn't to shine a light on what happened and what it was. I don't think anything physical happened and I want to believe that I caught it early enough on that we can still save our relationship. But I don't know if I can rebuild this foundation of trust if there's this boulder blocking the construction. Can I? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, you have boarded the trickle truth train. The fact that she is refusing to be transparent is a massive red flag. I do not think that you will have any success in getting through this unless she actually understands the full scope of her actions. I am diagnosed Asperger's, and I can tell you that my life is very black and white. I step up when I have made a mistake. She is abusing the title, because most people on the spectrum will not be able to lie, it just grinds our gears. Redditor follow-up, absolutely this. I'm there with you and my head works on black and white, ones and zeros. Gray is something I struggle with immensely. Redditor 2, people generally only hide things if they have things to hide. It's not that profound a statement, but it's true. So, A. She was having an emotional affair at least. B. You told her to stop. C. She has at least made it look like it has stopped. D. She is hiding her phone, etc. There is every chance that A. It was more than emotional given their proximity to one another. People don't have 6-month emotional affairs in the same city and not meet up. B. They shifted to another form of communication, and that's what the follow-up messages were about. Shift to Signal, Telegram, whatever. If you have access to her phone, check battery usage. If you have access to her App Store account, look what apps have been downloaded. Redditor 3, she knows you see what they did as an affair, at least emotional, yet she insists on hiding what she tells him and others from you. There is nothing to solve here. She may want the status of being married to you, but she doesn't want to be your wife. There is nothing you can do about that, unless you want an open marriage where you both hide what you do from each other. Redditor 4, she's not out of the affair fog yet. She's still talking to him, she's just hiding it better. Her actions since confronting her show in black and white how shady she is being. You only know the tip of the iceberg. I guarantee it.